Hi, I'm Jess, an A-level student from Chichester College, and today I'm going to talk you through A-level English language theories on variation.
Firstly, we need to consider, why are these important? Mentioning research done surrounding language is extremely important when giving context in exam questions to support your own ideas, and it will reinforce common assumptions made about language. By discussing theory, you encourage your response to flow, which will be reinforced by those discourse markers. You will seem judicious, and it will allow yourself to reach higher marks. There is an abundance of theories to consider, so it's important that you pick the ones that link to the subject of the question. It is also very important you recognise AO1 features, which is why I will define terms as I go along. Today, we'll look at two useful regional variation ideas, and we'll break them down. Before we start, let's break down a very important word. What is standard and non-standard English? Standard English refers to the widely accepted norm around language. It will be used within education and spoke by the majority of people. If we were to say something was non-standard, this is any language outside of this norm. It can be referred to as informal or incorrect by prescriptivists. But then what are prescriptivists? They are people less accommodating to language change. They believe language has set rules and prefer to see its traditional use. First variation is dialect levelling and koineisation. Dialect levelling is a process that happens due to contact between two dialects. The process involves them merging together to a point in which they lose the features which are distinctive to their region and form a more standard, mainstream dialect, which is less diverse than before. Koineisation is then the creation of these new standard languages that come from two pre-existing ones. Paul Kurzweil's study is what is important to consider when it comes to these two terms. He looked at dialect in Milton Keynes, Reading and Hull. He interviewed local residents and studied their pronunciation of 10 speech sounds. As you can see, I've listed an example. It might be worth noting this down. He gathered these sounds mainly from children aged 4, 8 and 12 and one of their guardians, either while they're completing tasks or from spontaneous interviews. His results were as follows. Milton Keynes. Older residents used a vowel sound as part of their local and more traditional dialect. Newcomers, on the other hand, spoke with a variety of accents. The children spoke like their carers up until they went to school, and then they developed into estuary English. Meanwhile, in Reading, there was a gradual change as children were influenced by their local-born parents and grandparents. However, there were changes in older residents. In Hull, young speakers kept the northern accent due to their older relatives. The conclusion Kurzweil got from this was that there was a regional coin in Milton Keynes, provided by a combination of local and newcomer sounds. It is, however, important to note that some distinct accents were still retained.
Now, you might want to pause the video, take some notes, and then come back for variation 2.
Code switching is self-explanatory. It is the action of switching between languages. It will often occur because of a child growing up with different language forms around them. For example, speakers may go to school and speak English to their peers, but speak to an older relative at home in their native language. Mark Seber's research into this was as follows. He studied younger speakers who had been born into London's Caribbean communities. He interviewed young British-born teenagers with Jamaican parents and recorded the conversations. He then measured their speech using the main phonological, lexical and grammatical choices that they made. London Jamaican is actually composed of 3 elements: Caribbean forms, Cockney forms and RP forms. They were likely to hear one in their family home, another at school whilst learning, and then another in their social time with friends and over the use of local shops, which allowed them to pick up all of these elements. Seber found that they could seamlessly switch between the 3 at appropriate times. This made him draw the conclusion that code switching means being able to use a range of dialects. He recognised how sophisticated this was.
There we have it, 2 language variation theories. Thanks for watching.